Thank you for joining me. I want to give you a story. This comes from long, long ago when our forefathers were with us. There was a boy called Crow. Crow was small and very little. And then one day he lost his parents. They both died. And unusually for the time, he was not taken in by anyone else in the village. He lived on his own at the edge of the village. And he learned how to fish and catch small birds and live quietly on his own. But of course, without a mum or a dad, he soon got dirty. He soon got scratched. He soon looked horrible. Even the kids would shout at him, "Oi, dirty one, look at you, look at you!" And this went on for weeks and months. But one day he decided he had enough. He was going to leave. He was going to become a man. He was going to go and hunt in the woods and learn how to be a man. So gathering a few bits and pieces together, some food, tobacco, he set off out of the village, not saying goodbye to anyone. No one at all, because no one liked him. He didn't even have any shoes. He padded out quietly into the woods, not even looking back. He walked for a few hours and he came to a river. And there was a canoe sitting beside the river. And he thought, no one's around, I'll just get into it. He got into the canoe and it moved. Without him doing anything, it moved. And it moved very fast. It moved onto the water and then it took off into the air. He was so scared, he held the sides. It was flying. It was flying into the clouds. It spun round 3 times and then headed south. Looking around, he could see nothing, but suddenly a land appeared, a land he'd never seen before, and the canoe slowly descended and landed on another river and beached itself underneath a large cliff. Crow jumped out and looked at the cliff and thought, I can't stay here tonight. I need to climb up. He looked and he worked out there was a way up the cliff. So slowly and carefully he made his way up the cliff and landed at the top. There was another wood there. But just over to his right there was a clearing, and he went to the clearing and looked. There was a stream at one side and a rock at the far end, and he thought, this is fine. The light was going. I'll stay here tonight. He knew how to build a small shelter from bark, so he did that. And as the light was going, he decided, I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat on the rock at the far end. He made his way there and sat down. The stone was warm as he touched it. He spread his food out and took a quick bite of cheese. Would you like a story? He jumped up. What was that? What was that? Would you like a story? He turned because he realized the stone was talking to him. Yes, I would like a story, said Crow. Sit down then, and I will tell you a story from the old days. A myth about why we are here. Crow sat, and the stone gave him a story, a great myth. It was beautiful, and Crow was completely lost in it and started crying. And then the stone said, that is my story. I have finished. You must now give me a gift. I don't have anything, said Crow. I've just got a bit of food and some tobacco I brought with me. Bring me the tobacco. tobacco was given to the stone. It is good. Can I have a story tomorrow? Or now? You can have a story tomorrow, said the stone. But this is how it is to work. I will say, do you want a story? And you will say, Hio. And then I will say, are you ready? And you will say, hen. To show me you are listening properly, deeply. And at the end, I will give you these words. And the stone whispered something which Crow caught. And he said, I understand. That night, Crow slept like he hadn't slept for years. Deep sleep. And he woke early and he went hunting because he knew to bring a gift. He had to bring a gift for the stone. He knew how to hunt. He got some small birds and prepared them. And as the light went, he went to the stone that evening and put them on the stone. They are good. Do you want a story? Hio. Are you ready? Hen, said Crow. And Stone gave him a great story about where the ancestors came from, with much beauty and mystery. And Crow was completely lost in it. And the words were given, and Crow said, thank you. Can I have another one tomorrow? Yes. Please. Yes, said the stone. And this went on for several days. The stories being given from the old times. But one evening after a story had finished, Crow said, I don't know, I can't remember all these stories. They're so beautiful and deep. What should I do? And the stone said, it is now time for you to walk to the sunrise and walk to the village. The village, said Crow. I don't want to go to a village. People treat me really badly. Look at me. I'm really dirty and covered in scars. My clothes are torn. Look at me. You will go, said the stone. The Crow gathered a few bits together and set off as Stone had directed. And he reached the village. And he was met by children at the village who were playing outside saying, we are going hunting with our father, come with us. And they just ignored his dirt and they accepted him and they went hunting and they hunted for deer and they were good. In fact, Crow was even better because he knew how to hunt. And the father showed him how to hunt. And the father said, we can give you food. What do you have for us? And Crow said, I don't really have anything. I guess I have stories I can give you. You will give us those, said the man. That evening, Crow gave them a story, or a little bit of one, because he couldn't quite remember everything. He really couldn't. But the stories worked for the people, and they gave him food, and he was accepted in the village and lived there for several weeks. And then one evening, the wise woman of the village approached him with her daughter, and she was carrying a loaf of bread. Crow knew what this was about. This was the marital bread. He was to be married. He took the bread, and he and the young woman became man and wife, and lived together in the village. But one night, his wife said, people are jealous of us. They're going to kill us. And Crow said, they're not going to kill us. They are. We must go back from where you have come from. So they left. They left quietly in the middle of the night and went back to the clearing where Crow knew the stone was. When they arrived, Crow went immediately to the stone, and his wife sat beside him. Would you like a story? Hio, are you ready? Hen, hen. and a story was given. And at the end, the words were given. And Crow turned to his wife and said, "That is how I know story, from stone." And his wife said, "I know, because stone is my grandfather." Crow was amazed. And Crow said, "But the problem is I can't remember some of these stories." And his wife smiled and handed him a pouch and said, "My grandfather told me, you are to do this now. When a story is given, pick up something nearby, a memento, and put it in the pouch. But hold it as you do so, because you will hold the story when you pick up that thing, stone, feather, whatever, every time you take it from the pouch. The story will come to you again." They stayed there the whole winter, with Crow learning stories, and after each one was given, he would pick something up, and he would remember the story. One evening, the stone said, "I have now given you all my stories. You must now take them out into the world. Tell your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren these stories. They may change as you tell them, but that is fine. As long as they live in the world, that is all that matters. Will you do that?" "Yes." Crow's wife touched him on the shoulder and said, "We must now go back to where you were born." "I don't want to go there. I told you. They hate me." "We must go," said his wife, "because grandfather has said we must go." They made their way out of the clearing and managed to climb back down the cliff together. They came to where the canoe still was. And Crow's wife said to him, "My grandfather told me to send this canoe for you to come to this place." And Crow smiled and got into the canoe with his wife. "And my grandfather told me to teach you songs that he has taught me," said his wife. And as the canoe took off across the river and into the air, the songs were given and shared, and they travelled back, hearing songs and hearing stories, until they landed back where Crow had come from the original river with a splash. They got out of the canoe, and Crow started heading back towards the village where he was born. "I don't want to go there. They really are horrible to me." His wife stopped by a hollow tree lying in the ground beside them. "I understand," she said. "Take off your clothes." Crow took off his clothes and felt shame. He really was filthy from living out for so long and covered in scars. And his wife said, "Crawl through the log." And that is what he did. He crawled through the log, and when he came out at the other end, his skin was completely clean, and his hair was completely clean, and all the scars had gone. He put on fresh clothes, and with his head held high, he walked into his village, and no one recognized him until he spoke. And they welcomed him and asked, "What has he brought for them?" And he said, "I have brought you story and song." And that is what happened. He gave story to where he was born, and the people embraced it and gave him gifts, and he became a great man, and he told his stories to his children and his grandchildren, and they are now being passed round the world until the end of the world, until the end of time, because of what Crow did all those years ago. That is my story. It is from the people of the Seneca in America, and I thank them for it.